and I've been following this for many years. Now we have the big big chemical and biological train wreck that's happening out in the ocean along the Atlantic coast and the Gulf Coast, where you have the flesh-eating bacteria and the listeria from the hog production along the Carolinas, and then you have the corexit, the chemical that was dumped into the ocean to make the oil go down to the bottom. Now, this is a part of the British agenda to take over this country, take it back over. This is also part of the Agenda 21 of the United Nations to reduce the population down 85%. And you can all check this out online yourselves. This is simple research. You ought to be able to do this and get some action going, because the people along the Gulf Coast are being killed. There's a mass genocide.
All right, let me say something here, because Tariq is a water expert. Tariq, Brother Tariq, from your research, this took place in 2010. Can the effects still be felt today?
The effects will be felt for the next 50 to 100 years, if not longer, because you're talking about a chemical, a petrochemical that makes the oil loosen up and go down to the bottom. Correction. It's very, very toxic. And
so you're saying the oil is still in the ocean?
Well, yeah. Of course, the oil is still in the ocean at the bottom. That's why they dumped the correction in the ocean, to cover it up. And they knew that when this chemical gets into the air and starts dumping into the land and gets on the land and gets into the water, you're going to have long-term effects of death. And Brother Donnie's been telling me about folks dying down there, 5 and 10 people a week just dropping dead. Folks, come on, you got to wake up to this. You know, this poisoning of the planet by these petrochemical people has got to cease. You don't need it. We've never needed it. It's been forced upon the whole population, and they did it by killing, stealing, burning, looting the Rockefellers. The history is all there. Go look up Ida Tarbell. She will tell you the whole story about the Rockefellers and what they've done and how they destroyed this land here. Our land, by the way. So, yeah, it's going to be a long-term effects on this.
Well, let me ask you this, Tariq. Can it ever be cleaned up? Can the folks who live like Donnie in Fort Walton Beach, can they ever expect that it's going to be pristine again?
No. It can never be pristine again because of what they did. Instead of cleaning up the oil, they forced the oil to go to the bottom and stay on the bottom. That's why there's mass death in the ocean along the Gulf Coast and all the way around Florida. And now with the listeria and the hog farm waste going into the ocean, being dumped into the ocean. For years it's been going on, folks. Now, the whole sea coast along the East Coast and the Gulf Coast is all dying out, folks. So this is a long-term effects of a mass poisoning and killing, which is a culling, folks. This is a culling of the population. This is planned. Nothing goes in this country on that is not planned. And
wait, hang on a second, Brother Tariq. Are you saying that the oil spill was planned? It wasn't an accident?
Look, I say that they knew the risks of digging and digging down and drilling down into this part of the Gulf, and they found out that they drilled into an area that had volcanic activity going on. And so once they tried to pull out, then that's when the whole thing exploded and carried on. And now they have this massive spill. And then instead of doing something about that, they put the poison on top of it, forcing the oil to go to the bottom. Thereby, this is the physical military attack, folks. This is long-term death. That's what they want. And this is how it operates.
All right. Thanks, Brother Tariq. Thank you for sharing that with us. Interesting. 800-450-7876. Brother Tariq calls from L.A. Let's take some more calls for Brother Donnie about that oil spill in the Gulf. James I think we got James back now on line 2 from D.C. James?
How's it going, Carl?
Not too good, because I'm hearing, what's going on in Fort Walton Beach, and then Donnie just told me that, the flesh-eating bacteria has now moved on to Mobile, Alabama, and still nobody can't get any help.
Well, everything Donnie said is absolutely true, and your previous caller was right on point with the correction that was put into the water. I mean, billions of gallons of this toxin. And what it did was it pushed the oil down into the seabed. And that's where you get your shrimp and other things from. That entire Gulf Coast area is devastated. Nobody's saying anything about it because, number one, tourists. Also,
right, James, see if you can come a little closer to that phone. It sounds like you're a bit far away.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah, it's a little better.
Okay, I went down to Fort Walton Beach, and I heard Donnie on your show, and I was given a travel grant, and I went down there to begin the process of documenting what had gone on, and I also went down to the upper and lower Ninth Ward in Louisiana just to actually film and document what had been done and what has not been done. And what I found to be going on is it's planned. It's very organized, and it's done purposely to do, from my estimation, two things. Relocate people and people of color. And also, they want to, for lack of a better word, re-gentrify certain areas and build on toxins. Now, one of the things, if you get a chance, go to your listening audience, go look at episode 6, if I'm not mistaken, at Vice. It's a program that comes on cable called Vice. They did an excellent expose on it. And also there's a woman by the name of Penny White who was jailed for blowing the whistle on what was going on. And her story, along with what Donnie's talked about and research I've done up to this point, these are the stories that need to be need to be heard. And our public officials, black and white, they need to be held accountable, truly accountable. We need to take on the cause and fight for Donnie and Penny so that it's not new. If you look at exactly what's happening in Fort Walton Beach, it also happened in Michigan. Public officials knew, and they took money over the lives of people.
Hang on a second, James. Let me ask you this. So, Brother Tyreek says that he thinks it was deliberate. Did you get the same assessment? Because we know it was Hurricane Katrina, or did they just take advantage of what happened?
Well, I talked to some of the...
I tell you what, hold that thought. I'll let you respond on the other side. We've got to take a quick break and check the traffic and weather. Folks, you two can join the discussion. Nothing's happened down in the Gulf after the oil spill. What are your thoughts? 800. I guess, James, the question I was asking you, Brother Tyreek said that this was done on purpose. It was intentional. But we know that Hurricane Katrina wasn't deliberate. It was, I guess they would call it an act of God. But have they just taken advantage of these situations, and including the Gulf oil spill, and then did what they want to do with it?
When I was in Louisiana, where the levees broke, the people I talked to, and I documented this, I went down there specifically to film and document it. I have maybe 10 hours of tape from Louisiana and another 8 hours of tape and interview when I was in Fort Walton Beach. And I actually saw where the levees broke. I was taken to all the spots and how it devastated that community. And my assessment is it was allowed to happen.